Now I want to introduce this morning's speaker, Rev Dee Evans. She is actually our UU A&I catalyst for our region, and she is a part-time minister at Elliott UU Chapel in Kirkwood, Missouri. The title of her talk this morning is How to Deal with Uncertainty.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. Now, each one of us sitting here has experienced uncertainty. It's like tripping over something that we didn't see, and we suddenly find ourselves falling. As we lie on the ground, we wondered, how did I get here? What happened? At those kind of times, sometimes uncertainties only last a few minutes. At other times, they can lead to months of re-evaluating everything we knew. In 2023, I had one of those experiences that led to re-evaluating everything. I wondered if I could remain a Unitarian Universalist. Ironically, I had completed seminary to become a minister. The Unitarian Universalist Association was revising Article 2 of our bylaws. Article 2 is the covenant we share among all congregations. It is where our principles reside. I jumped at being a volunteer to give the committee feedback on the proposal, and for that reason, I got a copy of what the revision of Article 2 was going to be. As I read the proposal, my stomach clenched, the muscles in my neck tightened, my arms tensed, and my fingers curled. I had expected change in wording. I expected another principle, an anti-racist principle, to be added as a spiritual practice. But I did not expect what was in front of me. What had they done to my principles? I attended the Zoom meeting to give feedback on those proposed changes. It was clear that the other participants were as surprised and dismayed as I was. I continued to wonder, can I remain a UU? I wondered if this same change would tear our denomination apart. Weeks later, I got another copy of the proposed changes for the second Zoom feedback meeting. In that meeting, a woman asked the exact same question I had asked myself. What have they done to my principles? As she spoke those words, my eyes happened to fall on the word love in the written proposal in front of me. Seeing the word seemed to drain all the tension from my body. Now, I don't mean to say I was immediately enthusiastic about these changes, but I realized that both the woman and I had made them my principles. Seeing love at the center shifted my change. It shifted my thinking so I could look at change. It shifted from the principles as my personal guidelines to living values that we try to live in a community. Now, I didn't come out of the meeting all happy and convinced of the changes. It took time to understand the revisions. I also realized we didn't lose our principles. They are, in fact, incorporated in the values, in the exact wording of the principles. And all these values flow from love at the center. Slowly, the uncertainty dissipated, and I have come to value and appreciate Article 2. By the time Article 2 was voted on and adopted in General Assembly in June 2024, I came to love it because by living those values, we are trying to transform the world into a beloved community. We have all experienced times in our lives like this, a time of really unsettling uncertainty. But each time, most of us got our equilibrium back. We got up and we moved on, and the uncertainty came to an end. Then January 2025 happened. A new administration moved into the White House. Since that time, we are in a period of uncertainty that seems like it will not end. It not only feels like we have tripped over something and fallen, but every time we try to get up and make sense of it all, we are tripped again. It all is constant uncertainty. From day to day, we do not know what will happen next. We don't know what rights will be stripped from us. We don't know how many of us will be able to vote. We don't know if things that we counted on, like Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, public aid, and public education, and so many other pillars of the last 100 or so years will remain. We don't know how long a war will last and how long economic insecurity will last. We don't know if our democracy will survive the current assaults on it. Now, one advantage of being older is that one has experience to rely on. But nothing prepared those of us who are older for this type of insecurity and uncertainty. Nothing is the same as it was before January 2025. And age has no benefit here. Both young and old are living together with this uncertainty. Now, the thing about uncertainty, if we're not careful, it can result in three very unpositive outcomes. First of all, it can result in anxiety. And if we let the uncertainty grip us in anxiety, it makes us unable to think clearly or act rationally. All we do is worry. Secondly, uncertainty can result in depression, where we just give up. There's just nothing we can do. It's too big. Uncertainty can also result in anger, where we turn on others, making them our enemies. So what do? To help with uncertainty, I came up with two things. These are just personal things. They're not momentous. They won't move the world, but they are ways that I have learned either by myself or with friends to handle uncertainty. The first thing I did was I have been studying Buddhism, so I turned to Buddhism to look at what they would say. And one of the things the Buddhists are very big in is acceptance. Acceptance is a key teaching in Buddhism. And so that means we meet and look at the reality. We look at what it is. And of course, at that point, we become uncertain, even more uncertain. So the Buddhists would say, sit with the uncertainty. Now, don't deny it. Now, this is not easy to do. It's why we run from what is uncomfortable. But why is acceptance important? Let me give you a very concrete example. I have two buddies. I turn to them, they turn to me. After reading major news feeds, I became so upset, I called one of my buddies. I asked her, what are we gonna do? And my friend said she refused to look at the news. She could not even think about what was happening. When I pressed, she changed the subject. Now, my friend is very intelligent and a good problem solver, but her reaction resulted in my own reaction, which is it raised my anxiety. If she couldn't think of anything and she was a major problem solver, wow, we were in trouble. So now, now we had not just one anxious person who wouldn't read the news. Now I became even more anxious. So the result was, through not looking at what was and not accepting it, we resulted in having two highly anxious people. And what happens with anxiety? We don't think clearly. So neither one of us had a plan to deal with anything. So this is why we need to accept what is. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but if you sit with it long enough, you sit with that uncertainty long enough, all the feelings that are associated with uncertainty, the anxiety, the depression, the anger, those feelings will go away as you sit with the uncertainty. Now, let me explain kind of what that means. Think about falling in love, romantic love. When we first fall in love, we don't see the faults of the other person. Or if we do, they're so endearing. We're in a period of elation. But as times pass, those intense romantic feelings pass. We develop a more realistic view of the person. If our love does not become mature, we become disappointed in the other person and the relationship ends. Now, if we really examine any emotion, it passes like romantic feelings do. Example, when my husband died, I was bereft, and I thought, I am not sitting with this grief. I can't do it. And after a couple of months of running with it, I figured, well, just sit and feel the grief. And I can tell you it was not comfortable at first, but like romantic love dissipates, the grief dissipated, not in the way that I no longer felt grief, but in the way that it no longer paralyzed me. So sitting with uncertainty, those feelings that it arises will go away. The uncertainty will remain, but the feelings that paralyzes will not. Facing uncertainty calmly is when we can make the plans to deal with what is uncertain. That's why acceptance is so important. Acceptance is understanding that we cannot control the world. What we can control is what we think about it and how we react. That is why the Buddhists suggest a meditation practice. We may have been tripped by something we did not see, but we can get up again. We don't have to do this alone. And this is the second way we deal with uncertainty. This is to turn to beloved community. Beloved community, right here in these pews. We talk a lot about beloved community in our Unitarian Universalist world. What is beloved community? And how can a beloved community help us deal with uncertainty? I talked about romantic love because it's fleeting. For relationships to last, as I said, we need a mature love. But even the love we have for our partners, our spouses, our children, our friends, is different from the love of beloved community. A beloved community exists because people share a common vision of how they would like the world to be, the kind of vision shown in Article 2. It includes freedom, justice, equity, peace, all of us having the basic necessities and the general well-being for everyone. Reverend Martin Luther King presented the concept of beloved community. It wasn't so much that it wasn't around before it was, he just sort of popularized it. Unitarian Universalist share this vision in our bylaws, where we have our values rooted in love. But we need to distinguish the love of beloved community from romantic or filial love. Love in beloved community does not favor anyone. We wish everyone has well-being. And in this type of love, we don't need to be the hero. We can work behind the scenes to bring help to this beloved community. And we expect nothing in return. Our work is always rooted in our values. It is not rooted on how we feel about someone else or even how they feel about us. In beloved community, we may not like each other or all of us. We may like some people and not like others, and they may like others and not like us. But in beloved community, it doesn't matter because we wish the well-being of everyone. Love in beloved community does not choose who we love. Now that sounds great, but what does all this have to do with uncertainty? You see, my friend wasn't able to help me with my concerns. It is not that she didn't care. It was just that her own limitations prevented her from helping. But when we have a beloved community, we have more strength than one person. That is why Article 2 calls love a power. When we were working on Article 2, I was very, very concerned because they had not only me, others were too, there was no definition of love, and it could have been interpreted anyway. But in the final version, love is the power to carry out our values, and those values are our shared values. And so when I look at love as a power, we realize a power isn't fleeting. When we come together, we have collective strength. We do not have to handle this uncertainty by ourselves. When one of us finds ourselves stripped and on the ground, there are many of us to reach out and help each other. So acceptance of what is, acceptance of the chaos is one way to deal with uncertainty. By facing that uncertainty, we can face what is causing it and search for ways to bring equity and justice into the world. We may even develop a meditation practice. Now, I happen to follow Buddhist meditation, but there's Christian meditation and Jewish meditation and other forms of Hindu meditation. So whatever spiritual practice you follow, you can find a form of meditation to help you. And once we have accepted, we don't have to handle it by ourselves. We can turn to beloved community and reach out to each other. Keep each other from tripping over what we may not have seen or being knocked down by what we do see. Use love as the power to hold each other up. You can reach out then, and only then, can you reach outside the beloved community here to make the world a beloved community. So may it be.